You know, we've had a lot of really bad draft busts over the years. You got Kwame Brown, Darko, Adam Morrison. Then in recent years, you got guys like James Wiseman, Dragan and Marvin Bagley. But none of them topped the draft bust that was Anthony Bennett.
Yeah, taken first overall by the Cavs in 2013 out of UNLV. And his career high in points per game in a season was 5.2. That says it all right there.
Start talking about how bad Anthony Bennett was, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So we'll start this story with the 2013 draft. At the bottom of the draft, like later on, there were guys like CJ, Steven Adams, Giannis, and Rudy Gobert, so it had some good players, but the top of the draft really wasn't good, and there was not a consensus #1 overall pick. You had Victor Oladipo out of Indiana. Like, he was a good defensive slashing 2 guard. He could score inside. Questions about his jumper though. His size is just 6'4", and really he might have been like 6'3". And like, could he score in isolation? Obviously he panned out really well when he played, when he was healthy. He was very good, but maybe not quite worthy of a top pick. Should have been the top pick, but at the time, just too many questions. Otto Porter Jr., solid wing, could kind of do it all, but didn't really specialize in anything specific. Cody Zeller, why the was he in the conversation as a top pick?
Oh, I knew you were gonna go off about this one. You're like president of the Cody Zeller
and I hate
hater
your
fan
guts.
club.
I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but you.
Honestly, the Zeller brothers, I got something against them all. Like, I don't like white bigs. Like, that just doesn't work. White American bigs. I mess with Jokic, guys like that, Nurkic, like, you know, those overseas guys, the American bigs, they just don't pan out. We'll see Cooper Flag. He could be the difference maker.
Without Klingon.
Okay. I have to take it back now, but from the period of like whatever 2010 to now 2023, I did not mess with them. So he was in the conversation, and then you had Alex Len, 7'1", 255, had all the physical tools, but was very raw. And then we had Anthony Bennett out of UNLV. I don't remember a second of him in college or just hearing anything about him before the draft.
I don't remember anything about him in college. I remember a little bit before he got to college, because if memory serves, I think Oregon was one of like his top 3 schools before he chose UNLV, and he was like a 5-star prospect at the time. So I was like, oh shit, you know, Oregon basketball might get like a 5-star prospect. I was like, okay, I'll pay attention. Then he went to UNLV, and I was like, okay, you're dead to me now. But I mean, at UNLV, he averaged 16.1 points per game, 53% shooting, 8 rebounds a game. I mean, pretty good for a freshman, but you are, you know, playing in the Mountain West. The powerhouse in the conference that year, I think, was New Mexico, who was a 3rd seed in the NCAA tournament and lost to the nerds over at Harvard. So, you know, not the best basketball conference that year, at least. But I mean, you mentioned it earlier, the fact that there were so many questions about every other top prospect, it made the first overall pick in this draft so hard to predict.
I mean, there still was a lot of red flags and questions about Bennett, though. 7'1" wingspan is pretty good for like a power forward, but the dude's only 6'7", meaning like, are you even tall enough to play power forward at that point?
Yeah, this was 2013.
Exactly. And then the dude weighed 240. You're not gonna play small forward at 240. You barely can even play power forward at 240, and I don't even know if 240 was accurate. He might have been pushing 250. So on top of that, he's not great defensively, had a questionable jumper, work ethic was also kind of an issue. Like,
I mean, when Alex Len is 7'1", 255,
right,
and you're 6'7", 240, that, unless you're LeBron, and that 240 is all muscle, which with Anthony Bennett, it was not.
No. Fast forward to draft day, no one knew who was going to go #1 overall. I think Alex Len was actually the slight betting favorite, but it was pretty open. And of course, Anthony Bennett gets drafted, and Bill Simmons, shout out to him, gives us the iconic moment where he just goes, whoa!
I mean, Len might have been the favorite, but I don't think anyone thought Bennett would go 1.
No
chance whatsoever. I think it was either Len or Oladipo were the 2 that people were thinking, but Bennett going 1, I mean, and it was to the Cavs too. I mean, they already had Tristan Thompson. It's just like, it seemed like a weird fit, and it really kind of like a big reach by the Cavs. Like, I mean, maybe they saw something that we all didn't, but I don't know what they were thinking at this point.
And the Cavs are so damn lucky they had so many #1 overall picks.
3 and 4 years.
Yeah, so they missed big on this one, but luckily Wiggins they used for love, and then of course they get Kyrie Irving. But so damn lucky because they missed so bad on this.
Going into this first season in the league, though, Bennett would actually have shoulder surgery and would miss the 2013 Summer League. Now, teams already knew about this. This was well known, so it wasn't like a surprise to anyone. But, I mean, you always want your top pick at least playing some in Summer League so you know what you have. And then once we got to the preseason, I mean, he was real hit and miss. First game against the Bucks, he scored 7 points on 2 of 12 shooting, which, you know, it's not a good look, but it's a rookie playing in his first ever NBA game at, you know, preseason competition is still higher than Summer League competition. So you're like, okay, that's fine. Stepped it up in his next game too. I mean, 16 points on 6 of 11 shooting. That'll work. So, you know, it was up and down, but once the actual regular season started, boy, his play took a nosedive real quick. I mean, when you start your NBA career off missing your first 16 shots, not a great start.
Yeah, it's not a good start for anyone, let alone the first overall pick, and he really never got going. It took until his 33rd game in the NBA to register his first double-digit performance when he scored 15 against the Pelicans. And the Cavs tried everything. They played him at different positions, played him with other bigs, played him small ball. I mean, the dude just wasn't good. You finish your rookie season averaging 4.2 points a night, 3 rebounds on 35% shooting. I don't know the exact like numbers for every first overall pick, but that's got to be the worst ever. I mean, there's other dudes who've been top picks who have done less, like Darko, didn't do his rookie year, but he was on a contending team and he was a project. Even Markelle Fultz, to give you some context, put up 7 points a night his rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, this rookie class was weird anyway. Michael Carter-Williams wins Rookie of the Year, putting up basically empty stats on a horrible Philadelphia team. But, I mean, you got to think at that point the Cavs are already having buyer's remorse. Maybe not for Carter-Williams, but definitely for Oladipo, Trey Burke, Giannis. They were showing a lot of potential there rookie year. And only 14 months after the Cavs took Anthony Bennett with the first overall pick, they sent him off to Minnesota. Now, they were getting Kevin Love back, so I get why they were doing it, but that's how quickly they gave up on this guy.
I mean, they just realized the dude wasn't very good, and in Minnesota, he put up a career high 5.2 points a night. Like we said in the intro, that was his career high on 42% shooting. So it just kind of reaffirmed like the dude was an NBA player. He played 57 games for the Timberwolves, and then they waived him. Next season, the Raptors, they give him a shot. Probably helped he was Canadian, you know, bringing in a Canadian guy to play there.
Yeah, that'll put butts in the seats.
Yeah, Anthony Bennett, Canadian superstar. He plays 19 games for them, spent some time in the G League. Then he's waived, and then the Nets were the last team to give him a shot. They were desperate enough during their rebuild. He only plays 23 games for them, and that was his last NBA stint. He gets waived in January. Spent some time overseas, actually won a Euro League with Fenerbahce. Played in Taiwan last year. We just found that out.
Yeah.
Like, he kept playing. I guess he's technically still playing to this day, but in terms of an NBA career, especially for a #1 overall pick, that's as short as it gets. Just 4 seasons.
Yeah, and historically, when you're talking about worst #1 overall picks, I think he's definitely it. If you talk about worst overall busts, I think it's between him and Hasheem Thabeet. You maybe could make the argument Thabeet is the bigger bust, considering James Harden went the pick after him,
Yikes.
and Steph went 7 in that draft. I mean, the guys who went after Anthony Bennett, I mean, you could say, yeah, Giannis went 15, but Giannis was a complete unknown at that point. And I mean, you know, CJ McCollum, you know, Gobert went at the end of the first round. It's not like there was a superstar right after Anthony Bennett that the Cavs missed on. But if you're talking about #1 overall picks, I mean, who's the second worst? Like LaRue Martin, who the Blazers took in the mid-70s before the invention of the internet?
Yeah, before
he had these vast scouting networks and hours and hours and hours of footage of these prospects. Like, this is 2013. Cleveland had plenty of info on this guy to know that he wasn't very good.
And even like he doesn't have injuries as an excuse. You look at other busts like Sam Bowie, Jay Williams, even our boy Greg Oden. Like, first of all, they all showed more flash than he probably did, and they had injuries that completely derailed their career. So I think he's the worst bust ever. Hasheem Thabeet is an interesting argument because he did all in the NBA as well, and you add on the fact that that draft was a lot better, so that is a fair point. But I mean, the dude was just awful. That's the thing about it. Like, Hasheem Thabeet, I guess, didn't have as much hype or wasn't put under the microscope because he wasn't the first overall pick. Anthony Bennett, like, from the second he made it to the NBA, was awful. And no hate to the guy, like, you know, I'm sure he is still trying to put together his NBA career. I did hear a kind of scathing quote from David Griffin that said, dude had no work ethic whatsoever. So that's not a good sign, but the dude was still a very good basketball player. The NBA is just a different beast, and unfortunately, he didn't live up to the expectations. So what do you guys think? Who is the worst bust in NBA history? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well, and don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.